Siddhanta Saraswati Goswami Prabhupada ki jai, Ananta Koti Vaishnavindra ki jai, Namacharya Srila Haridas Thakur ki jai, Prem se Gaur Sri Krishna Chaitanya Prabhu Nityananda Sri Advaita Gadadhar Sivas Adi Gaur Bhaktavindra ki jai, Sri Radha Krishna Gaur Gopinath Sam Kund Radha Kund Giri Govardhan ki jai, Vrindavan Dham ki jai, Navadvip Dham ki jai, Swami Ito Bhaktavindra ki jai, Ganga Mai ki jai, Jamuna Mai ki jai, Tulasi Devi ki jai, Bhakti Devi ki jai, Swami Ito Bhaktavindra ki jai. All glories to the assembled Lord.
Hare Krishna.
All glories to the assembled Lord.
Hare
Thank you
Krishna.
very much.
Hare Krishna, devotees Jai. Please accept my humble obeisances. All glories to Srila Prabhupada, all glories to Gurudev, and all glories to the assembled devotees. Hare Krishna. We welcome you all to today's SRIMAD BHAGAVATAM class as usual. I'm sure all of you or some of you might have read from the platform that His Holiness Bhaktivedanta Damodara Maharaj will not be able to speak today. He has some sort of medical situation. Thank Guru and Krishna, according to him, it's not a serious issue, but yet it's still an issue he has to attend to. So he will not be able to speak today. So His Grace, Salika Prabhu has offered to step in to speak. So His Grace Salika Prabhu is going to speak, and then we will try to enjoy as much as we can. Because Krishna consciousness, especially Srimad Bhagavatam, is so sweet that it doesn't matter who is speaking, as long as it's coming from Srimad Bhagavatam, and the person is a devotee. It's very sweet. So without further ado, we're going to hand it over to His Grace, Sri Salika Prabhu. Prabhuji, please, you take it over from here. Hare Krishna. You are muted, Prabhuji. Salika Prabhu, you are muted. Okay. You still are muted. Salika Prabhu, no? Okay, now we can hear you.
Yeah, sorry, I had an interrupting call, so sorry for
okay.
that. Yeah.
I thought you were talking to us. I saw your lips moving.
Yeah.
Okay.
So I think we can start.
Okay, so I'm going to put the rest on the screen. Okay, Hare Krishna.
Om Namo Bhagavati Vasudevaya. Om Namo Bhagavati Vasudevaya. Om Namo Bhagavati Vasudevaya. Om Namo Bhagavati Vasudevaya. Narayana Namaskritam Narayana Narottamam Devi Sarasvati Vyasam Tatu Jayan Udiraye Nasta Aprayeshu Bhajesu Nityam Bhagavatam Sevaya Bhagavati Uttama Sloke Bhakti Bhavati Naistiki. Before reciting the Srimad Bhagavatam, which is the very means of conquest, we should offer respectful obeisances unto the Supreme Personality of Godhead, Narayan, to Narayan Narayan Rishi, the supremacy human beings, and to the Supreme the author of the Srimad Bhagavatam, by regular attendance in classes on Srimad Bhagavatam, and ready service to the pure devotees. All that is troublesome to the heart is almost completely eradicated, and loving devotional service unto the Supreme Personality of Godhead is established as an irrevocable fact. So we welcome us to the SRIMAD BHAGAVATAM class, which is the very means of conquest, as stated by the SRIMAD BHAGAVATAM itself. The material world is a war zone. There's constantly a war going on. Whether we're conscious or we are unconscious of it, there is always a war going on. That war could be external, it could be internal, it could be space, but there is always a war going on. And according to the SRIMAD BHAGAVATAM, which is confirmed by all of the great authorities in this world, the very means of conquering that war is this oral reception to the SRIMAD BHAGAVATAM. So I welcome all of us and congratulate those of us who are able to come here. So as the hosts have said, this class is supposed to be given by His Holiness Bhakti Dira Damodara Swami. But because of our somehow or the other trying to follow in the footsteps of the previous Acharya, we're trying to keep the momentum going on. The reasons for Maharaj not being able to make it here is being explained by the host. So we're trying to render service to the pure devotees who are the real speakers of the SRIMAD BHAGAVATAM. And we pray that this endeavor will give us opportunity for purification and for those who will listen to this. So we are reading from SRIMAD BHAGAVATAM, 1st Canto, chapter 15. The text in today's discourse is text number 14, which is subtitled the Pandavas' Early Return. So we'll read the Sanskrit synonyms, translation, and purport. Purport is very short, which is sweet. Yadandava kuru baladim anantam param eko ratina tattariham akriya asatum pratyaritam bahuttanam chamaya paresam tejas padam manimayam charitam sirobhya ya tandava kuru baladin anantam param eko ratina tattariham atriya saatoham pratyavitam bahudhanam cha maya paresam tejas padam manimayam charitam sirobhyam ya bandava kuru baladim ananta param eko ratina tattariham atriya sattvam pratyavitam bahudhanam cha maya paresam tejas padam manimayam charitam sirobhyam. Word for word translation. Yat Bandava, by whose friendship only, Kurubala Adihim, Kurubala Adihim, the ocean of the military strength of the Kurus, Anantaparam, which was insurmountable, Eka alone, Ra'atuna, being seated on the chariot, Hare was able to cross over. Aham, myself. Atriyaha, invisible. Satvaham, existence. Pratyaritam, drew back. Bahu, very large quantity. Dhanam, wealth. Cha, also. Maya, by mind. Parisham, of the enemy. Tejapadam, source of brilliance. Mani imayam, bedecked with jewels. Cha, also. Ritam, taken by force. Sirobhyaha, from their herbs. Translation, purport by His Divine Grace. This confounder Acharya Srila Bhai Charanara Vinde Sibhakti Vedanta Swami Patita Pavan Jaga Guru Srila Prabhupada Ki Jai. The military strength of the Kauravas was like an ocean in which there dwelled many invisible existences, and thus it was insurmountable. But because of his friendship, I, seated on the chariot, was able to cross over it, and only by his grace was I able to regain the cows and also collect by force many elements of the kings, which were bedecked with jewels that were sources of all brilliance. Purport by His Divine Grace Prabhupada. On the Kaurava side, there were many stalwart commanders like Bhishma, Drona, Kripa, and Karna, and their military strength was as insurmountable as the great ocean. And yet, it was due to Lord Krishna's grace that Arjuna alone, sitting on the chariot, could manage to vanquish them one after another without difficulty. There were many changes of commanders on the other side, but on the Pandava side, Arjuna alone on the chariot, driven by Lord Krishna, could manage the whole responsibility of the great war. Similarly, when the Pandavas were living at the palace of Virata, King Virat, incognito, the Kauravas picked a quarrel with King Virata and decided to take away his large number of cows. While they were taking away the cows, Arjuna fought with them incognito and was able to regain the cows along with some booty taken by force. The jewel set on the turbans of the royal order. Arjuna remembered that all this was possible by the grace of the Lord. Omagyanam Timiram Dasya Gyanam Gyanam Chala Akaya Chapcho Umilitan Jena Tasmai Shri Gurave Namah Sri Chaitanya Manobhistam Stapitam Jena Bhutale Swayam Rupam Padantikam Hare Krishna Karuna Sindhu Dinabandhu Jagapati Gopisha Gopi Kakanta Radha Kanta Namaste Tapta Kanchana Durangi Radhi Nalameshwari Vishabhani Sukudevi Panamani Hari Mukam Karoti Vachalam Pangam Lagayate Girim Yakripat Ambande Siri Guru Dinakarina Vanchakarpa Tarubhyascha Kripas Dubhyasivascha Patitanam Pavashnebhyo Vaishnavebhyo Namo Namah Jai Sri Krishna Chaitanya Prabhu Nityananda Shri Advaita Gadadhar Srivasadi Gaura Bhaktavindra Hare Krishna 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 Hare 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 Rama 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 Hare Hare Krishna 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 Hare 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 Rama 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 Hare 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 Krishna 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 Hare 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 Rama Rama, Rama Rama, Hari Hari. Yagbandava Kurubaladin Anantaparam Eko Ratina Tataryam Atriya Satum Pratya Avitam Baudanam Chamaya Parisim Tejas Padam Manimayam Chabritam Sirovyaha. The military strength of the Kauravas were like an ocean in which there dwelt many invisible existences. And thus it was insurmountable. But because of his friendship, I, Arjuna, seated on the chariot, was able to cross over it. And only by the grace of the Lord was I, Arjuna, able to regain the cows and also collect by force many elements of the kings, which were bedecked with jewels that were sources of all brilliance. Hare Krishna. So once again, I welcome all of us to this auspicious moment of the day, where we have the opportunity to do the actual duty of the soul coming into this world. There are so many duties, according to the very scriptures. There are unlimited duties that is naturally bestowed upon the living entities the moment it takes these material bodies. And in whatever body that we take, the duties are unlimited, as many as the representatives of the Lord, who are all managing these areas of duty. But of all of the duties, the greatest of the duties is the duty that has to do with the essence of the purpose of the existence of the soul, which Lord Krishna captured in the SRIMAD Bhagavad Gita. In the concluding verse, chapter 18, text number 16, where he said, Sarva Dhamma Parijayam Mamikam Saranam Vraja Ahantvam Sarva Padebhyo Moksyami Syami Masucha. That one should abandon all other various duties, responsibilities, religiosity, and all kinds of duty, and simply surrender unto him. And when one does that, the promise is that he will protect one from all of the deep challenges that associates itself with the acceptance of the material body. And he gave a confirmation, please, we should not be afraid, we should not fear.
L was lost in thought.
So this moment where the soul has the opportunity to hear the glorification, the narration about the Supreme Personality of Godhead, and his devotee is considered the most auspicious because it is the core essence of the activities of the soul. It is the activities that is beyond any reaction. So for those of us who have developed affinity for attending, hearing, or speaking SRIMAD Bhagavatam, I congratulate each and every one of us. So today we are discussing the continuation of the discussions of Arjuna remembering the Supreme Personality of God after the departure of the Lord. Arjuna was remembering all that he has achieved in the course of his life endeavor, and how it is as a result of the presence of the Supreme Personality of God. In this particular text, he is remembering two specific activities. And those two specific activities have to do with one, when the battlefield of Kurukshetra was to begin. Of course, we remember the story that Duryodhana, who is the head of the other side, I call it the other side, because in the material world, we tend to call the other side that which is not the most favorable. or the most unrighteous, or the most not palatable. So Duryodhana was on the other side, leading the Kauravas. And on that side is great personalities like the great grandfather Bhishma himself, Dronacharya, and great Maha warriors, who just by their blinking of their eyes, Arjuna and his brother could be consumed in a moment. We remembered how Lord Krishna, after all of the drama of persuasion, mediation that went before the battlefield of Kurukshetra, offered to give benedictions to both Arjuna and Duryodhana. And now Duryodhana, out of his false ego, which is the nature of those who are not surrendered to the Lord, went to stand by the head of the Lord, which is the nature of the conditions of the material world. Every condition in the material world, directly or indirectly, wants to control the supreme personality of God, and they want to give instructions to the Lord, because the head is meant to give instructions to the part of the body. And the Lord is the supreme head. So Duryodhana went to the head and Arjuna, taking shelter, following the instructions of Bhagavatam chapter 18, verse 66. And Lord Krishna, at the end of this drama, awarded Duryodhana all of what he desires, the armies. And Arjuna was satisfied by just having the supreme personality of God as being his chariot driver. And even when Lord Krishna said, I will not fight, I will not carry arms, I will not carry weapons, Arjuna was satisfied because he knew wherever there is a supreme personality of God, as declared by Sanjaya at the end of Bhagavad Gita, the supreme personality of God, the supreme mystics. And wherever there is a devotee-like personality like Arjuna, there will always be victory. So when the combination of a Bhakta and Govinda, the supreme benefactor of the Bhakta, combined, there will always be extraordinary activities, manifestation of success. And that is the lesson that Arjuna is trying to bring our mind to in this test. That whatever he has achieved, and Prabhupada mentioned in the purport, that despite all of the great warriors that were on the Kaurava side, they had to, at different times, change the commanders because they kept on consistently being defeated by one who is materially calculated, inferior Arjuna, to those great warriors. But Arjuna single-handedly, and Arjuna is recognizing it. And that is the most important lesson to be learned in this test. Perception. When we are successful in life, generally, we always assume, I have done this due to my intelligence, due to my capabilities. I was able to do this, and Prabhu, I did like this. I spoke to that to that Kami like this, and it took several books from me. we are used to giving the glories to ourselves. And that is the difference between the Bhakta and a non-devotee. Arjuna here is exhibiting the quality of one who is a devotee, because a devotee will always see the Lord in every circumstance. But while a non-devotee will see himself as the doer of activities. Even though Lord Krishna has established that in the Bhagavad Gita, Prakriti Kriyamanani, Gunai Karma Salas, Aham Kara Vimudatma, Chatahan, Iti Mayate, Bhagavad Gita chapter 3, verse number 27. That the living entities, it is out of the conditional illusion that makes him to think is the doer of activities, but actually, Lord Krishna is carrying out all activities through the agency of material nature. But the living entity is always thinking, I'm doing. But a devotee, like Arjuna, never thinks I'm the doer of activities. That is what makes him extraordinary. And that is what Lord Krishna is trying to make us come to hear. That this warlike situation that we have in the material world, where there will always constantly be conflicts and disagreement and misunderstanding, that in all of these, we should always come to the upper front of seeing that Lord Krishna is playing his pastimes. And when we constantly see the Supreme Personality of God like this, we end up seeing God in every activity. There is a nice story that I would like to share in regard of this saying, the actor behind the activity. There's a Vedic story in a kingdom. You know, we all know that in a kingdom in the ancient times, and even some kingdoms in today's kingdoms, when the king sits down, he always has different great personalities around him, and there will be dancers called to dance. So there is this story of a dance by organized by the king. And the king, in particular, so nicely organized this dance and invited several persons. Material other activities. He invited special personalities there, apart from the general audience. The king was sitting down, and he invited a sannyasi, a renounced person who is in the order of the renounced life. And he invited a Brahmana to the occasion. And after every of the special guests of honor have sat down, the king and the special guests, the sannyasi and the Brahmana, the dancers begin to dance very ecstatically. And they dance and dance and dance after a long presentation of dancing. In every dance, in every occasion, there is always an MC or master of ceremony. So the master of ceremony, after asking all of the audience to clap to appreciate the dancers, to honor the special guests that we are all seated on the high table, first and foremost approach the king. He said, "My dear kings, you have organized very nicely this dance section. Please tell me, how did you see this performance of the dance? What was your assessment? How do you see?" And the king answered very ecstatically, "Oh, this is a very wonderful performance. It is so satisfying. What an artistic performance these dancers have presented here today." And listen carefully to this response. The dance is wonderful. It is so satisfying to his mind. And it was an artistic performance. Then the master of ceremony in turn, he said, "Okay, the dancers, congratulations, the king is satisfied with your dance, and he sees your dance as very artistic. So let me ask the king's guests how they feel about the dance." And he looked out to the Brahmana. He said, "My dear Brahmana," we all know what a Brahmana is. A Brahmana is a priest who is the number one quality of the Brahmana is that in the Bhagavad Gita chapter 18, verse 52, we learn the qualities of the Brahmana. And one of the foremost quality of a Brahmana is that he is heavy with knowledge. He is very educated. So the master of ceremony asked him, he said, "My dear dancer, my dear Brahmana, this dance that has been performed, did you like the dance? How was the dance? What is your assessment of this dance?" And the Brahmana answered. He said, while the dancers were dancing, he said the way they were carrying their hands. Some of us have watched Bharatanatyam dance in the Vedic tradition. And he said, as they were dancing and raising their hands, he said their hand movements during the dancing were very similar to the way I performed the arti morning and evening. He said, all the while they were dancing, all I could see was the way I would do my arti, the way they are carrying their hands. I'm just seeing that they are doing the same thing as I'm doing. They are offering, just like I'm offering arti to the Lord. They are offering, their hand is like an offering, like when I was offering. And that is what he saw. Abraham said, they are carrying their hands. It's like the hands. When I'm offering arti, you all see, know how the artists perform. And the master of ceremony said, oh, very wonderful. Then he turned to the sannyasi. He said, Maharaj. Sannyasis are called Maharaj. He said, my dear Maharaj, my dear sannyasi, you are also seated here. We have heard the comments of the king, and we have heard the comments of the Brahmana. In your own perception, how did you see this performance of the dance? The sannyasi is a personification of renunciation. One of the first qualities of a sannyasi is that he sees he has finished the business with the material body. He has renounced the activities of the mind, body, and senses and surrendered them to the service of the Lord. So the sannyasi said, oh, actually, while they were dancing, the only thing I was seeing was just a skeleton. I can just see bones moving the air around. I did not see any other thing. I didn't see any other thing while they were dancing. I didn't see whether there was a woman dancing or a man dancing or a girl dancing or a boy dancing. All I could see is the skeleton being carried by the wind. This scene of these three personalities gives a whole lot of explanation about what Arjuna is narrating here. Because Arjuna is a devotee, all he could see in whatever happened in the battlefield of Kurukshetra, while they was able to defeat the Kauravas while they were incognito in the 13th year of the exile, was Lord Krishna only, because he is a devotee. In the same way, in our day-to-day life, all we see depends on who we really are. Just like in this narration of this story of the dancers, the king was only see, because the nature of the king is to enjoy. He was only being, he can see, he was enjoying himself, and the person satisfied. It was satisfactory about the dance. If you see nice performance, the Brahmana was completely remember the arti he offers to the Supreme Personality of Godhead. And the sannyasi, because he knows that this body is just a collection of bones and flesh covering the skeleton. And all of this is being moved by the wind. So that was what people see. So in the same way, in our individual lives, what happens in our day-to-day life, how we relate to it, depends on who we are. And that is why it is said that on the part of bhakti, it is not difficult. It is not difficult. In any way, it is not difficult to understand where we are in devotion and service. We do not need a soothsayer to tell us whether we are becoming a devotee, whether we are still materialistic, whether we are advancing on the path of growing in the path of devotional service, because our expression, our perception, our understanding, our reaction or responses to every situation that we see, that we talk about, reflects who we really are. Like Prabhupada will say, when an assembly of gentlemen in suits with nice style sat down. You never know who is a gentleman until when they open their mouth. So when the kings speak, when the brahmanas speak, when the sannyasis speak, we could realize immediately who they really are beyond their physical body and external identification. In the same way, just like Arjuna is seeing Lord Krishna in every of the activities that has happened in his life, we will also see a fellow devotee. We will see the temple president. We will see the king of the nation. We will see different situations as the cause of what we are seeing or the expression of what we see. And it is very important because depending on how we are being trained and how much we have accepted the training, it manifests in our realization. The realization of the Brahmana, the king, and the sannyasi is based on the training they have received and how they exemplify those trainings in our individual day-to-day devotional life on the path of bhakti. Our training that we have been given, the training we are getting, our hearing of the Bhagavatam, our engagement in the process of devotional service relates to how we do things. And that will make me to tell one other story. This is similarly like a material story, but it has a whole lot of reflection on the matter of training, which is what leads to our realization. There was this company, very popular company, who has a very outstanding manager. And the manager is so glorified, and people wonder how this manager is able to perform exceptionally in his managerial activity. And this manager says, okay, you want to know, I will share with you. And in narrative, there is a time, there is a need for, he said, presently in our company, we're going to recruit someone into one of the vacant positions. And he was explaining to the secretary that by my choice of the person that will occupy this post, you will understand how, why, and how, and so what makes me an exceptional manager. And the vacancy is sent out, and a lot of people apply. And lots of files were placed before the manager. And the manager went through all of the files. And after assessing all of the files based on what they write about themselves and what their qualification is, he picked one very qualified person based on paper qualification, which is what we have these days. He asked all of the material required qualification. Then he selected the second person. That person doesn't have that much of a qualification, paper qualification like the other person. But from his experience, when we write applications, some of those who have written applications, you see, there's a section of the application where you explain your personality. So based on the way this other person expresses his personality, so he selected this person, making two of them. And he requested the secretary, please, you have brought so many applications here, but I've shortlisted only two. And out of these two, I will pick one of them for this position that we're going to fix. And the secretary said, okay, I will follow as you said. And he invited those two persons. And on the day of the interview, he told the secretary, he said, when they come, you come notify me. And when they eventually arrived, he said, don't come to me until the two of them are sick. And when the two of them arrived, the secretary went into the manager's office and told the manager, the two of them are available now. Should I call them in? The manager said, you call them one by one. And please don't come inside with them. give them direction to my office, point my office to them, and let them come in by themselves. And the secretary said, that is fine by me, sir. And he went out there, he said, based on the instructions given by the manager, he said, call this person first. And that is the person that has the highest paper qualification, material paper qualification. Call him in first. And he called him in. And when he came in, he knocked the door and he opened the door. He came into the manager's office. And when he came into the office, he left the door that was blocked when he was coming in. He left the door wide open as he opened it and entered. He came into the manager's front and requested, and he sat down in front of the manager. And the manager welcomed him nicely. He told him, my dear sir, you are Mr. Sususu. He said, yes. You have come for interview. He said, yes. He said, thank you very much for coming. Your interview is finished. He was bewildered. This man has not asked me any question. How can my interview be finished now? He said, I will get back to you. Go. And the first bookman went out, left the door and go out and meet the secretary. The secretary called the secretary came to see the manager. Your interview with this person was so fast. I hope there is no problem. So I said, there is no problem. Please lock the door on your way going out. Call the second person for me. And the second person comes. He knocked the door like the first person, opened the door, came into the manager's office. But before coming to the office, he carefully closed the door behind him. He came to the manager and requested the manager permission to sit down. And the manager said, please do sit. And the manager welcomed him as usual. He asked his name and he confirmed some of the things in his curriculum vitae. And he said, okay, now I've heard all of what you are saying. I'm done with the interview. Please go and meet the secretary that I'm done with you. You'll get a letter from the secretary. And the secretary came back inside and said, sir, you have had an interview with these two persons. So whom among them are you going to be selecting for this position? And the manager said, oh, I'm going to be selecting the second person. And the secretary said, what? Sir, but this first person has no better qualification, has more number of years of service. This person is having a lesser number of years of experience, and his qualification is even less. I was wondering why you choose the two of them together, because I was thinking you just bring that person just to fulfill righteousness. You have only selected the first person. He said, no. He said, oh, so okay, sir, please, can I ask you, why did you choose this second person? What is your justification for choosing him? And the manager answered, so my dear secretary, he said the first man I spoke to asked all the qualifications, but I've tried to give the job to the second person. Why? The secretary asked, why again? He said, it appears that the first person is such a lazy fellow. Because when he came into my office, ordinary simple etiquette of closing the door behind him, he could not do. Although he may be poorly qualified, has so much of big certificates, but the basic etiquette of office, he lacks. Why the second person? Although he's less qualified, but he has a perfect etiquette of somebody who is fit to work in an office environment. So that is why I'm giving the opportunity, because such a person exhibits a quality of one who can be trained, who can be make it improve. So in our devotional life, as we come into Krishna consciousness and we get all the rules and regulations, how we exhibit in our day-to-day activities the qualities of what we learn is what determines our surrender. Just like Arjun here, is exhibiting what he has learned and as a devotee of the Supreme Personality of Godhead. The challenges is that from experience, when one comes to any system, even in devotional service, most of the time, after so many long time, the tendency to forget the basics makes us to lose focus and we lose the most essential part of devotional service, which is what Arjuna here is teaching us, that no matter how highly elevated we become, we should not forget that the Supreme Personality of God is the basis, is the power, is the source of all whatever we can achieve in our endeavor. And this attitude of becoming arrogant when we become very advanced in devotional service can be learned from the story of Lord Ramachandra, Hanuman, and the spider. Now I'll share this story and then maybe I'll end there and we'll give room for discussion. Lord Ramachandra, when he appeared on this earth, we all know the story of Lord Ramachandra. He has exiled, Sita kidnapped, finding Jambavan, Arjuna, Hanuman, and all of the monks. And how the bridge across to Lanka was being built. But while that was going, Hanuman, who is the strongest among the monkeys, exhibited what most people see in our experience in today's devotional service. He went to that small spider. He said, "My dear spider, what is wrong with you? What is the use of your effort? Please don't make me to commit apparat. I will if I match you now, you just match with the floor, with the earth. Let us who are very strong, who have power to do what is needed, let us do the job." And the spider, very humble, with so much of pain, step aside. And Lord Ramachandra was standing beside watching this drama. And he called Hanuman. He said, "My dear Hanuman, please tell me, why am I building this bridge?" And Hanuman was very ecstatically explaining, because he's the one that has gone to Lanka and come back. I said, "My dear Lord, because we want to cross the ocean, of course." And Lord Ramachandra answered Hanuman, "My dear Hanuman, this is not true. And Lord Ramachandra, the Supreme Personality of God, I don't have to cross the ocean." He said, "Just a few minutes ago, right in your presence, I dried this ocean simply by getting angry because the ocean was misbehaving. The ocean personified was misbehaving. That is not the reason. I could be there in one moment if I wanted to. Simply by writing my name on the stone, the stones are floating. So how much more potent is it if I myself just put my leg into the ocean?" And just like ourselves, Hanuman became confused and he asked, he speculated in another reason. He said, "Okay, my Lord, not just because you want to build the bridge. Yes, I know that you have the power, but because you wanted to kill Ravana." And the Lord answered him again, "My dear Hanuman, that is still your speculation. If my reason of building this bridge across the ocean was just to kill Ravana, All I have to do is just to leave his heart, and immediately he will die. It is only because of my presence that his heart is pumping and he is doing whatever he does. If I decide to leave, immediately he will slump and he will be finished. So after hearing this from Lord Chanja, Hanuman responded, he said, my dear Lord, now I think there's no more need for me to speculate. Please, can you tell me the reason why you are building this, making us to do all of this exercise of putting the stones to cross the bridge? And the Lord answered, to engage all of you in the devotional service, in my devotional service, for the purpose of purifying you, I have given this opportunity for you to render some service. Just like the Spirit is also struggling, trying his best to engage in my devotional service in his little way. I have given this opportunity for only that reason, only, so that you can have opportunity to render service, and by rendering service to become purified. And in the Bhagavad Gita, Lord Krishna himself confirmed this statement. In the chapter 11 of Bhagavad Gita, text number 32 and 33, Lord Krishna says that Tam Aham, Kalosmi Loka Sayati Prapavido Lokam Samaritum Ia Prabhitaha Rite Piswana Bhavisyati Sarve Ye Vastita Prati Anikeshu Yodaha. The Supreme Personality of God has said, when I am the great destroyer of the world, and I've come here to destroy all people with the exception of you, the Pandavas. All the soldiers here on both sides will be slain by me. And in the next verse, it says that, therefore, you are Jude, get up, prepare to fight and win glory, conquer your enemies, and enjoy a flourishing kingdom. They are already put to death by my arrangements, and you, O Sabya Saki, can be but an instrument in the fight. This is a statement of Lord Krishna to Arjuna in the Bhagavad Gita. So Arjuna is reflecting on this, having heard the Bhagavad Gita. So Arjuna is explaining to us here that the whole of whatever we are thinking or we can do is only as a result of the permission of the Supreme Personality of Godhead. And one who always remembers like this and relates to every situation like that is a devotee of the Supreme Personality of Godhead. That is the essence of the verse we are reading today. So Arjuna, remembering all of this, is telling us that we should constantly remember that the Supreme Personality of Godhead is the beginning, the middle, the end of everything that is manifesting in our life and in the life of everyone is as a result of the Lord's permission. Thank you very much for giving me this opportunity. I would like to stop here and allow devotees to share their realization, comments, questions, and if there are corrections or maybe even chastisements, they are all welcome. Thank you very much. Hare Krishna.
Hare Krishna. Thank you so much, Shri Salika Prabhu. Well, like I said earlier, you just stepped in because Maharaj couldn't be here. And it's so beautiful the way you discussed the text. So devotees, if anyone has a question, comment, realization to share, please, you may do that. But Prabhuji, I have a first question here. My question is, there are some beings called Sanjivanis. That is I mean, we say they are immortal, but of course everybody will die, but they have very, very long life to live. And out of the many that have this boon to live like till the end of Kali Yuga, only Ashwatthama is living as a result of punishment. All others are not living as a result of punishment. And we read that Kripa Acharya, who is mentioned here, is one of the few survivors of the battlefield of Kurukshetra. And he's also one of the Sanjivanis living. May I know why this Kripa Acharya, who took care of the Pandavas, but later on fought against them, should be given such a boon? And it's not as a result of punishment. So my question is, why? I mean, like in the case of Hanuman, I know what Lord Ram told Hanuman, to stay behind and help others. But why is Kripacharya still living? He
Thank you
should be
very
dead.
much.
To me, I'll say Kripacharya should be dead, but he's not dead.
Thank you very much, Prabhuji.
Hare Krishna.
What I can say in this regard is that whatever has happened, just like the theme of the lectures of today, it is by the will of the Lord. But the stories behind Kripa's having the boon to remain, I will be lying or speculative if I said I know the story. But I think it's something for me to study. And I've not taken so much of cognizance of that aspect. So, but thank you very much for giving me an opportunity to reflect on that. So I will go and read more and find out from the scriptures if there are such explanations in our books that made Kripa not to die in the battlefield of Kurukshetra. Well, the only thing I can say for sure is that whatever happens based on the is by the Lord's arrangement. That much I am very absolutely convinced.
Okay, Hare Krishna, thank you so much. You were also talking about chastisement. And if I may chastise you, I have one chastisement for you, and that is, I will also be very careful with my chastisement. because Ravana, Kamsa, these guys were big demons, and they had the power of appearing and then vanishing at the same time. But we have personality like the Supreme Lord himself, Lord Krishna. Lord Balaram will appear like a snake, and then again he will change himself like it's a rope just to deceive Ravana, Kamsa. So what I want to tell you is that from time to time you become like Krishna, because you appear and then you disappear. as we're looking at you, we see you, and the next moment you merge into thin air. So that's my chastisement. Hare Krishna.
because I'm carrying so much of the message of the Acharya, so their boon is funny.
Hare Krishna.
The reason is that because whenever there is no electricity, the reflections sometimes.
Yeah. Okay. Okay. Okay, I got it. Anandini Prabhu, please unmute and go ahead, please.
Yeah, Hare Krishna Prabhuji and Mataji, Dandavat Pranams.
Hare Krishna. Hare Bol.
Prabhu, thank you once again for stepping in. I have two questions. First of all, looking at the text, do we as an individual have to have any desire at all? Because there is this worldly saying, but that man proposes, God disposes. So do we as an individual have to desire for anything at all? That is my first question.
Come again, sorry, I didn't get the last part of your question.
His question is that it is said that man proposes, God disposes.
Yeah.
So as living entities, should we desire at all? Because you may desire, but if Krishna doesn't want it to happen, it's not going to happen anyway. So why desire? That's his question.
That's what I wanted to get clear. That last aspect of the question. Yeah, we should desire, because even if you don't want to desire, you will end up desiring, because desire is one of the natural inclination of the living entity. Just like it is a natural part of a mobile phone to have a button, whether a digital button or physical button. It's a natural part of the mobile phone. Or just like our car, natural part of the car is that it has an engine, it has a keyhole. So the living entity, by nature, is a desirous living entity. He cannot at any time stop desiring, because it's his natural inclination. So he has to desire. But the question, why should he desire at all if he has no control over the manifestation of his desires? That question is answered in several ways in the scriptures. Because the ultimate purpose of every manifestation is to please the Supreme Personality of Godhead. Just like any other machine or any gadgets that we have, they all have their purpose. And there is this popular example that writing a book is a natural part of typing. And on our mobile phone, we can do typing. But if somebody wants to write a book and he chooses to type it on the mobile phone, he'll be frustrated. Why? Because, yes, there is a facility on the mobile phone to type. But that facility for typing is not meant for typing a book. So you will not be able to type a book. And if the phone user says the manufacturer of the phone is foolish, is unintelligent, is nonsensical, because he couldn't write a book using the mobile phone, that means himself is foolish, because the mobile phone has its own purpose. In the same way, the living entity has its purpose, and part of his natural purpose is to be able to desire. But what is he supposed to desire? It's also stated, just like every creation has or manifestation has its purpose. So the living entity, as part of natural ingredients that is required for its existence, is that he should desire. Now, when he desires under the guidance of the script or the guidelines that is given by the Supreme Personality of God, then it's working in line with his purpose of his manifestation or creation. But if he does not work in that capacity, he becomes frustrated. So the question is, so why should we desire? We should desire because it is natural that we have to desire. That is part of the purpose of the living entity's existence. But also, alongside that purpose, the living entity is meant to desire for pleasing the Supreme Lord. But he is not conditioned, it's not imposed upon that he must desire in his Lord, so that the purpose, part of the purpose of the manifestation of the living entities can be fulfilled. Because just like desire is part of the purpose of the manifestation of living entities, the part of the purpose of the living entities purpose also is to please the Supreme Personality of God. So all of these purposes have to be fulfilled, and each and every component of the manifestation or creation of God has to fulfill the purpose of its own individual parts. So the living entity's purpose is to please the Lord, and if the living entity is to please the Lord, he must be able to desire it. And if he does not desire in line with the purpose for which he's created, he suffers. So it is said that there are three factors that lead to any manifestation of activities: our desire, our endeavor, and the sanctioning of the Supreme Personality of God, which is carried out through the three modes of material nature. So we have to desire. And even if you say, okay, I don't want to desire because I cannot determine what comes out of my desire, then we'll still find ourselves desiring anyway, because it is a natural part of us. Just like it is natural for the sun to rise in the morning and to set in the evening, it's a natural part of the creation. So it is natural for the living entity to desire. But desiring for what purpose is where our involvement comes in. I hope that explains something to you.
Sure.
There are several facts in the scriptures that support the purpose of the living entity's creation. This that the Lord owns everything and he has given quota for each and every living entity. So part of our quota is to take what is belonging to us, not encroaching on others. And there are several verses in the scriptures that support this explanation. But we have to understand that desire is natural in part of the living entities, which cannot be taken away of him.
Okay, thank you. So my second question is, recently I follow BDD Maharaj on Facebook.
Okay.
When one devotee was celebrating his her birthday, actually her son's birthday. So Maharaj said, as a devotee, we're supposed to have 360 children, whereby we can have birthdays every day. So he narrated a story in that regard. So my question here is, see, according to Bhagavad Gita 2:20, I don't know if Sadhu Prabhu can put it on the screen. For the soul, there is neither birth nor death at any time. Don't know. You can put it, then I ask my question from there.
Okay.
Okay.
Yeah. Najayate namayate bhakadasi. Na jam bhak bhutva pavita vanadha. Yeah. Ajo nityan sasvatu. Should I put up the Sarvati? Yeah. This is the verse. Okay.
Yes, please.
Okay.
So, and apparently we have this philosophy that we are not the body, we are spirit souls.
Yeah.
So my question here is, celebrating birthdays, is it not pertaining to the body? I hope you got my question.
Yeah.
Because it's the body that attains birth, but the soul does not attain birth. So celebrating birthdays, to me, even me personally, I don't even remember when my birthdays come until these SIMs that I have. No, when they give me notification or my bank give me notification, then that I know that, oh, today is my birthday. I don't actually remember my own birthday that is coming for so and so day. So this isn't that it's on the bodily platform, whereas we know that we are Brahmasmi, we are spirit soul living in this body. So celebrating birthday, is it not pertaining to the body? I hope you got my question clear.
Thank you very much. Very nice, beautiful question. Actually, there was a program, I think almost 2 decades ago. I was on one TV television program. The title of that program is What Will You Do? And I was asked this same similar question. And the host was asking, does the devotee celebrate birthdays? And if we do, why do we celebrate? How does it, what is our understanding of the birthdays? And if we don't celebrate, why don't we celebrate? And what do we see as a birth? What is our implication? So the verse you quoted is very right. The soul has not taken birth, nor does it die. It has come into being at some time in the body, and at some point in time, it will quit the body and go to another situation. The soul is eternal. Neither death, it has no death. It does not come into being. It doesn't come into being. It will not even come into being. He is unborn. He is eternal. He is a very existing believer. So in other words, the soul has no birth date. Because the Supreme Personality of God has no birth date. Ishwara Paraman Krishna Sakchidananda Vigraha. Another Adi Govind Sarva Karanam Karan. The soul has the Supreme Personality of God is Krishna Govinda. He has no beginning because he's the beginning of everything. He has no end. And because the living entity is fragmental part and parcel, like he said in the Bhagavad Gita, Sanatana. The Lord himself is confirming. The living entity is Sanatana, is eternal. So he also has no beginning, he has no end. But in the journey of the soul, at different junctions, it gets into different situations. Lord Chaitanya Mahaprabhu said in the Chaitanya Charitamrita, Brahmananda Brahmi Pone Bhagavan Jiva, Guru Krishna Parshade, Hai Bhakti Lata Bija. That is the reason why we celebrate faith birthdays. Because in the wandering of the living entities who are falling into the conditional life of this material world, that day it takes this body, or it comes into this journey where he is able to remember the purpose of his existence. Is the greatest fortunate day of the soul, because that day marks the beginning of his re-establishing himself in his original constitutional position. So such a day is celebrated. And the day he also lives also is celebrated, because on that day his lost situation, his wandering situation in this Brahmananda, that day, that wandering situation, that lost situation is put to a check. So therefore, a devotee celebrates that day, because that day is the beginning of his journey back home. Just like a child who has been lost and was found somewhere in one village or corner, and everybody is trying to find out, whose child are you? Where did you come? What's the name of your father? What's the name of your mother? Where did your parents live? And all of this process, when it comes to a point whereby the parents of the child is established, that yes, this is the parent of the child, this is where they live. Even though that day, the child will not be with the parents immediately, but that day is a very significant one, because his return home is guaranteed at that moment. So the devotees of the Lord celebrate appearance and disappearances, because it marks the day where the end of the journey of wandering begins. And we celebrate the end or the disappearance of the devotee, because it marks the day the devotee leaves this wandering situation. That is why it is said by our carriers that on the days of our birth date, devotees should fast. Why is it said to be fast? To fast. Fasting is because on fasting days, fasting is meant to allow us to reflect, to retrospect on the purpose for which we have taken the material body, to engage more in spiritual activities. And that is why devotees' birthdays are celebrated with a lot of pomp of giving in charity. The best activities on the birthday is that one should give in charity to those who are worthy of charity. One does not have much to give. One should cook prasada and offer to the devotees of the Lord. Because by the devotees of the Lord being satisfied with you, one becomes very easily freed from the contamination, which is the purpose of the Lord coming into this material world. So a devotee must remember, like you, of course, myself, sometimes I used to forget until some few years back. I must be frank with you that until when I became a devotee, birthdays I didn't celebrate. And even when I joined devotees for several years, until when I became fully engrossed in family life, that I started remembering my birthdays. But yes, to answer more directly your question, the devotees celebrate birthdays because it affords us opportunity to remember that the Supreme Personality of Godhead is our Father, that we are His eternal servitor, and we have gotten this body that have given us opportunity to know Him, and therefore, by such endeavor, our journey back home, back to Godhead begins. I don't know whether this makes sense to you or not.
All right, thank you, Hare Krishna.
Hare Krishna, thank you for your question, Anand Nidanam Prabhu. And Salika Prabhu, thank you for the answer also. But Anadi Nidanam Prabhu, like Salika Prabhu said, observing birthdays just pertains to the body. It does not pertain to the soul, just like you referenced the Bhagavad Gita. So is that a problem? Do you find that as a problem, like somebody celebrating birthday which pertains to the body? I don't think that should be a problem because we are the soul, we are the spirit. We know we are the spirit, but we eat rice and gravy. The soul doesn't eat rice and gravy. But as long as we are in this material world, we have to live accordingly. So, like Salika Prabhu was explaining, especially for us as devotees, we remind ourselves how Krishna has been merciful to give us this bridge, because it's understood that this human body is a bridge to help us cross from this ocean of miseries to the other side, which is the spiritual world. So we honor that, recognize that, celebrate that, and appreciate Krishna for giving us this bridge to help us cross. So I don't know, but I don't think there is anything wrong in devotees celebrating birthdays, even though it's pertaining to the body, because we need the body to serve in order to go back home. Without the body, we cannot serve. That's my little addition to what Salika Prabhu has already shared.
Thank you.
Hare Krishna. But thank you for the question, as always. Anyone else with something to say? Govinda Prabhu, you have something to share?
Well, Hare Krishna, Prabhus, Dandava Pranam.
Haribo.
All glory to Srila Prabhupada, all glory to Gurudev. Yeah, Prabhu, thank you for this beautiful answer to this question. I was also thinking about the opposite side of this question. How do you explain the opposite side of this question? It's a celebration because we know it's a day we have actually taken birth. You know, merging back into Krishna consciousness is a birthday. And so therefore it has to be celebrated. It's the happiest among days, and so it has to be celebrated. But the Kamis also celebrate their birthdays. So that's why I'm asking, how do you explain that side also? A Kami who is eating meat and eggs and all kinds of sinful activities, and knowing very well that his activities is taking him to hell, to go and suffer, maybe take a lizard body somewhere, cockroach body somewhere. We are celebrating that birthday. So how do you explain that portion also?
Thank you very much. Actually, one who is not a devoted to the Lord is doomed in all respects. Because whatever activities he engages in, further puts him in a very difficult situation. And when one who is a non-devotee, generally what to do, they commit more activities that are degrading the soul. In other words, increasing the duration of the prison years of the soul. In the real sense, only a devotee is qualified to celebrate birthday. But what I was explaining in that TV show that day was that any other person who celebrates birthday without understanding who the Supreme Personality of Godhead is, who he is, and what is the purpose of life, is actually not celebrating birthday. It's actually killing him or herself on that day. Because the material world is said to be a prison house. And the birthdays that gives the soul the opportunity to be in a body that gets in contact with Krishna is an escape route from that prison house. Whatever body that we take that does not lead us to contact with devotees and devotional service is further increasing our hellish conditioning in life. So such a birth is most unfortunate, and in real sense, it shouldn't be celebrated. But unfortunately, such days being celebrated actually is seen as a mourning day, because that day increases the state of the soul in the conditioned world. So if anyone actually is supposed to celebrate birthdays, it is the devotee or one who has come to understand these three basic knowledge taught by the Chaitanya Mahaprabhu. Who is God? Who he is within entity, and what is the purpose of the relationship between those two. And that's why I quoted that statement of the Chaitanya Mahaprabhu, Brahmananda Brahmite, Konya Bhagavan Jiva, Guru Krishna Prashade, Latabija, that after wandering in the situation of samsara for so many births and so many hundreds of years, he who really is fortunate is one who takes a body that takes him into devotional environment to meet a devotee and start the journey back to Godhead. So, in other words, whoever celebrates birthdays without knowing this is actually mourning in the name of celebration, because it's actually increasing their state in the conditional world.
Hare Krishna. Shri Salika, in fact, I find your answer to this question quite a difficult and a bitter pill to swallow, because I do not see how a non-devotee of Krishna celebrating his or her birthday becomes like a workload for him or her. Because, some of us were lucky we were on this platform yesterday. I'll get to you quickly. We were here yesterday with His Holiness Kavichandra Maharaj. And he shared with us a story about one very popular sportsman. He was African American. He was like the first African American to rise to that status. And then he had cancer. So he was interviewed. And I mean, all the people interviewing were thinking that he was going to feel sad because he was going to die. And his answer was, why should I feel, why should I complain? Why should I curse God? When God rose me up to this status, I did not complain. I did not say anything bad. So if he's giving me, so to me, the fact that some people are not devotees of Krishna does not mean that they are not devotees, but there are different levels. And so, in fact, even in our scriptures, as we understand it, it is not by worshiping Krishna that sends one to the heavens. It's just by piety. So if someone is not a Hare Krishna devotee, but he lives a life of piety, that alone can take him to the heavens, even though it's still within the material world, but it's still a better place. So our Chakra Prabhu, please unmute.
I
And
want
then
to quickly respond to that. I'll take up on just hold on the next second. Let me buttress on what I said so that the bitter pill can become sweet for Saturday today.
Okay, yeah, that would be awesome.
Let me start from where you stop about going to the heavens. Abramana Bhuvana Lokapuna Avati Lojuna. Lord Krishna told Arjuna, from the highest planetary system to the lowest, there are places of miseries. That is what birth and death takes place. And in several lectures, Prabhupada emphasized in several purposes of the SRIMAD BHAGAVATAM, that as long as one does not come to realize his identity as a spirit soul, part and parcel of God, then such an existence is hellish. In fact, it's worse than that of an animal, because by natural inclination, the animals progressively grow. But for one who has taken the material body and does not know the purpose for which he is in the material body, is the most unfortunate death. So for someone who is not a devotee, and when we say a devotee, we do not mean that a Hare Krishna member. I didn't use the word Hare Krishna member. A devotee can be in this tradition or that tradition. It doesn't matter which tradition it is. But the characteristics of a devotee are delineated in all these scriptures, and they are not different. That such a devotee must be loving God. And how can one love God when he does not know God? So for one to be a devotee of God, must be knowing God. And he must be knowing that he's part and parcel of son or prophet of God or whatever identification he has. But he must be knowing God. He must be knowing he has a connection with God. And he must be loving God. So that is the characteristics of a devotee. So we're talking about a devotee who is qualified to celebrate birthdays because that one knows the purpose. It's just like a gross example given that when a $100 bill is given to a village woman in the village, she's hungry. She doesn't have what to eat. And she's given an $100 bill. In Nigerian money today, that is about 60,000 naira. And she thinks, why is this person giving me paper? And he puts it in the firewood to enhance the fire, to boil water, looking for Gary to make. That is the most unfortunate person because he doesn't know the value. And like Jackman says, such a person is like a monkey, foolish person who is given a $100 bill and is given a banana. And he's ordering to get a banana instead of $100 bill. He doesn't know that from $100 bill you can get 100 of a banana of banana. So that person who has taken this material body, who has not become a devotee, is the most unfortunate person. And whatever he does, whatever he is, whatever identification he identifies with, is the most unfortunate person. In fact, in this same first country, SRIMAD BHAGAVATAM, I think chapter 18 or so, it is mentioned that that person that has taken this material body and does not, for any reason, understand that that the ultimate purpose of this existence is to serve the supreme personality of God, is already a dead person, even while he is living. So such a person, wherever it may be, this is not about religious sect or tradition. The reality is that either you are a devotee or you are a non-devotee. If one is a devotee, he is a devotee wherever he may be, and such a person should celebrate such a body that has given him opportunity to become a devotee. But whoever he is, whatever he calls himself, if he does not know the purpose of life, who God is, who he is, whatever he thinks is celebrating, it's actually a cause in the name of celebration. Because whatever he does in such a celebration will be to further degrade himself.
Okay, Hare Krishna. Arichakra Prabhu, please unmute.
Hare Krishna, Prabhu.
Hare Krishna.
Dandava Pranam, all glories to good, all glories to Prabhupada.
Hare Krishna.
I'm a little bit confused because about this issue of birthday. We know that the soul doesn't have a beginning, neither does it have an end. But I want to understand, when we say someone has taken birth, is it the soul that has taken birth or the body that has taken birth? Because we also know that the body is a dead matter. It's inactive. So what takes birth? Is it the soul that takes birth or the physical body that takes birth? If it's the physical body that takes birth, then it means it can take birth even without the soul. But if it cannot appear without the soul, then who is taking birth? Is it the soul that is taking birth in this material environment at a certain point in time to work through? And because he's appearing in a particular environment, he's been given a particular body that he has to work with. Or is that body that is taking birth? I need some explanation. Sometimes it gets me confused.
Thank you very much, Arisha, for I know that we are just asking this question for benefiting us.
Salika, it seems you are a bit further away from your microphone.
Oh.
Okay, it's better this way.
Okay, thank you.
Yeah.
The soul has no birth, neither does it has a death, as Anandini Prabhu refers us to in the Bhagavad Gita. What has taken birth is the material body, but the material body also has not taken birth. And that is why when the devotee is talking about a soul entering into this material world, the soul, the devotee doesn't talk about birthdays. It's just because of acclimatizing with the system, social system, that we use the word birthdays. Devotees don't use the word birthdays, they use appearance. That is why when devotees greeting other devotees, said on the auspicious appearance of His Grace Sir Adit Prabhu, or on the appearance of His Grace Govinda Prabhu, or on the disappearance day of His Grace Bali Prabhu. So devotees talk about appearance and disappearance. And that is one of the other explanation of why those who are not a devotee are in a serious trouble. Because there is no birth, there is no death. But out of illusion, the living entity who is covered thinks he has taken birth. And that is the beginning of his woe. Because he has actually not taken birth.
Good. Yeah.
So it's appearance and disappearance, devotees know. But just to familiarize with the social norms, we talk about birth and death, just to give them concern, just like the Bible says. One who speaks in tongues in the midst of those who are not familiar with it speaks nothing, or maybe even confuse the congregation further. So because people don't understand, so we also use the word birthday. I have a friend of mine who is not even a devotee. He belongs to some mental school. They talk about, you never see them talk about birthdays. You say birth dates and birth dates, death dates. Of course, that is still further extension of the ignorance.
Shri Salika Prabhu, excuse me, I'm sorry for interrupting, but I, of course, I'm nobody, but my understanding is quite different from what you're explaining, that devotees use appearance. The non-devotees they say birthday. But I think that devotees use birthday. Only those who are liberated, we refer to them as appearance day because they appeared. When we talk about birthday, it is not by our choice. We are forced. We are forced to appear into this world. And so that is a birthday. But appearance day, somebody like Srila Prabhupada, his like birth is appearance. My birth is birth because I was forced to come here. Buguyaro.
Thank you for that, bringing that angle. But still, it still explains the topic of our today's discussion. Perception. Remember the story of the dancers, the king, the brahmanas, the sannyasi. Because you are speaking from the state of conditional life, you are considering yourself to have taken birth. But the soul has not taken birth, neither is it going to die. That's what Krishna is saying. So whether you admit or accept it or not, the fact remains that you have not taken birth, neither or are you going to die. It's because you are seeing from that position of a Jiva Atma or eternally conditioned soul in that state that you are saying I've taken birth. But one who is a devotee, that's why we say a devotee. A devotee may be Kanishta, it may be Madhyama, it may be Uttama Bhakta. But a devotee knows that there is no birth, no death. That's what distinguishes him from being a Kami or a non-devotee. A non-devotee will say, I've taken birth. But a devotee, even at the lowest level, when we come to devotional service, what do we learn first? Aham Brahmasmi. He knows me, Lord Krishna, when he started talking to Arjuna, that is where he started. Lord Chaitanya Mahaprabhu, when he started talking to the Kami, the same place he started. So the ABC of devotional life, of spiritual life, starts with he knows me, hey, come around your banner. You are not this body, you are spirit soul. And one who understands that I'm spirit soul, he may not have realized that he is a spirit soul, but he has a theoretical knowledge that I'm not this body. He knows that Krishna is the supreme personality of God, even though he has not realized it, but he knows because he has taken to the path of bhakti. So saying that I've taken birth is a statement of a conditions statement. But one who is a devotee, out of humility, you might be saying, I saw a day and consider to myself I've taken birth. But like the video shared on that, I think it was on one of the platforms. Do you believe it or you know
it? Well,
yeah, Salika, Hare Krishna, Salika Prabhu.
Yeah, Aditya. I think after you, Shriman Prabhu has something to share.
I think the quotation you just gave, that he knows me yata dehi. It's even confusing me more. It makes him it's even bringing me, because that quotation says as the embodied soul, which means that it's the soul that has taken that body as the embodied soul continuously passes from boyhood to youth to old age. So he's talking about the soul. So my question still remains that is it the soul that is going through these changes? I mean, we know the soul. I understand the basic thing that the soul is eternal, but who is going through that stages? Is it the body by itself that is going through that stages? And if it's the body that is by itself that is going through the stages, why is Krishna telling Arjuna that the embodied soul, the soul is there and the soul is going through these stages as the embodied soul continuously passes from boyhood to youth to old age? So does he get out of the body?
Thank you very much.
I still need clarification. I think I'm getting more confused.
Let me use the very on a lighter mood. On a lighter mood. All of us are talking now because we logged into the Zoom. Or the Zoom logged into us. Prabhu, Did you log in into the Zoom or Zoom log in to you?
I logged in.
You logged in. So the soul logged in into the body.
Yeah.
The body is matter, like elementary knowledge of matter and spirit that we learn in the soul. The soul is the active force. The body is a material element that has no capacity. The moment the soul leaves the body becomes dormant as it is originally. There is no activity in the earth, on the body. What makes the body move to the soul is the soul that enters into the body at different times. And then when the soul enters in the body, he has not taken birth by entering the body. He has appeared in that body. That body is already there. Just like Papa will always say, all of the bodies are already existing. But at a point in time, the soul enters into the body. So that is entrance into the body is the manifestation or appearance of the soul, not its birth. Because birth, by definition, means beginning. But
Well,
the soul
all I
does not
know,
begin when it enters into the body, neither does it die when it enters the body.
all I know is that Lord Chaitanya is the Supreme Lord himself, but we have his birthplace. I haven't heard anybody say the appearance place of Lord Chaitanya.
Those words are used for explanation.
Yeah.
But that's why I love that video yesterday. Do we know that Lord Chaitanya Mahaprabhu appeared, or we believe that he appeared?
Yeah.
Do we know that he appeared, or do we believe that he appeared?
As devotees, we know.
So if we know as a devotee, so a devotee knows that there is no thing like birth or death, because that is the statement of Lord Krishna. And if we know Krishna, we know the statement of Krishna, we realize Krishna. So then we know that yes, we do not take birth, neither do we die. Birth is associated with what? Body. The soul has not taken birth. And we are spirit soul. We are not this body. So we didn't take birth, neither do we die. But at different times, we appear in a particular body. And then we engage in activities with those bodies. And when the assignment of that body is, our assignment in that body is finished, we come down. Just like a motor car. We enter a motor car from one stop to the other stop. The motor car is already existing. But we enter into the car. For us to be able to log on to Zoom, the Zoom platform is already there. Whether we are sleeping or we are resting or we are eating, Zoom is also there. But at a different time, we log into the Zoom when it is time, 3 p.m. Ghana time, 4 p.m. Nigerian time, 6 a.m. Ghana and US time, and different times of the world. We appeared on the Zoom at a time, but we use the word logging into. So we log into material body at different times. And we can use whatever vocabulary, but the reality, the truth is that the soul never takes birth. The soul appears at different times and lives at different times. When it appears, a conditioned soul says he has taken birth. When he leaves the body, the condition says he has died. But a self-realized person, one who is a devotee, he knows that he appears and disappears at different times. And it doesn't matter whatever level of devotion.
Oladimeji said something beautiful in the chat room, which I very much agree with him. He was talking about celebration of birthdays to be in the mode of ignorance, passion, and goodness. And so, regardless of the name we call it, the mode is, I believe, what is most important. Whether we call it appearance or birthday, the mode, whether we recognize that, okay, we've been given this body to use it to serve the Lord, and we try to do that, and we we recognize that particular day that we did show up on this platform, on this Earth planet. I don't know. I think it's okay. But if someone is just drinking and smoking and doing all crazy things on his birthday, which is mode of ignorance, then whether one calls it birthday or appearance day, it doesn't help anyway.
Of course, you will never even call it appearance because it doesn't know anything about appearance.
Yeah. Yeah. Srimad Varaprabhu, you have something to share. I think you had your mic open.
My network is not so good, so please
Oh.
excuse me.
Well, okay. All right. Anyone else? Say, Anadi Niranam's question has taken over the whole discussion.
Sir, if I may.
Sure, please. Go ahead.
If I may use Salika's own words.
Yeah.
About him saying that, did we log into Zoom? Or is Zoom that logged into us?
Yeah.
Yeah, we logged into Zoom. But once we log into Zoom, it's not Zoom that is speaking. It's Salika that is speaking.
Exactly.
So I think if you are getting the idea that I'm trying to bring across, that
I understand you, but then the fact still remains that when the soul logged in to the Zoom and the soul is speaking on the Zoom platform, just like as Salika is speaking, Radhe Prabhu is speaking, and Shaka Prabhu is speaking, it does not become the body by speaking on the Zoom. It still remains Salika, it still remains Sa'ade, it still remains Arishaka. Even though he has logged into the body, he's talking on the platform of the body, but he still remains Salika that. His position has not changed. So he's still always Salika that. Because he is the one that has logged in. And he's the one that will log out when it is time to log out. But, and while on the Zoom, he's still the one speaking. But that does not change his position. And that's not change the position of the Zoom platform. Zoom platform will always be Zoom platform. Salika will always be Salika, whether he logged in or he logged out or he's talking on the Zoom platform itself. He will always remain Salika, which is the fact that it's a spirit soul. It's not the body. So the body has not taken birth. The soul has not taken birth. The soul appeared in the body.
So what actually takes birth in reality, in a real human life? What takes birth?
That is the reality. There's actually nothing like birth or death. It is a material perception of things. And that's why I gave those stories in the lecture. It's our perception that determines how we see things, how we talk about things. Because for us, we talk about beginning and end. Because our conception, our understanding, while in this material world, is to see beginning and end. Because our reality, while in the material body, is to see beginning and end, negative and positive, good and bad, up and down. Because the moment we are in the material world, it is called the world of dualities. So these dualities come into place, and we speak based on those dualities. But when we come beyond the dualities of material life, that is why Lord Krishna says that Dehi knows me Dehi Yesa Dunama, Maya Durati, Man Evaye Prepadian, Maya Etam Tarantite, that these dualities of material world, nobody can go beyond because it is the natural inclination here. But when we come in contact with the Lord, when we surrender to the Lord, we go beyond the dualities, all these dualities of beginning and end, up and down, soft and hard, good and bad, will disappear because they are actually illusion. There's nothing like it. There's nothing like birth or death.
Right, one quick question. Do animals give birth to their kids or they appear? Do animals, do they give birth or what?
We're just talking of different bodies. The soul is the same, whether in the body of cat or dog or snake or human or demigod. They never take birth. They appear and they disappear at the time that is destined. But we give them a name as animal. We give them a name as a tree. And we mark a beginning, we mark an end based on our perception. But whether it's in the cat body, it's in the dog's body, it's in the goat's body, our perception is that it has taken birth. But there's nothing like that.
Okay, I'll just speak one time and I won't speak again. I'll give you 2 minutes. I don't want to speak too much today. I'm already hungry. See, there was a time, I think that was our dearest brother, Bali Maharaj, when Bali Maharaj left his body. You know, I wrote something on the platform, and Ishwara Prabhu wrote and corrected me that, no, devotees do not die. Why should I use the word that he died? You know, and funnily enough, when we were having his memorial service, the same Ishwara Prabhu also used the word died. And then he could tell him back to me, no, he says he reasoned ill. Who thinks the devotees die? Vaishnavas don't die, you know. So as devotees, we know these things, but we live in this world, and this is how we speak. Yeah. So I do not see how it's the same thing. We had a very special program for Bhakti Swami Maharaj in Cleveland, and we were there with Bhakti Charu Maharaj, and Bhakti Charu Maharaj was telling us we have to refrain from I and my. So, and then Yogeshwar, our god brother, asked Bhakti Charu Maharaj, so Maharaj, you said we should refrain from I and my. Now, if my arm is hurting, how do I explain that to another person? And it became Maharaj to answer. What I'm trying to say is that we by Guru Krishna's grace, we know the philosophy to some extent, but because we live in this world, there is a way we speak, and there is no other way we can speak than what we already know. You know. Okay.
There's a beautiful phrase in the book of Apostles.
Yeah, I think Salika Prabhu, I think Sahadev Prabhu has agreed with your points.
Oh yes.
And Arichaka Prabhu also has everybody agree with your points. Yeah. No, they just want to scrutinize your brain.
Yeah.
And then and bring more, download more stuff and give it to us.
Movina, why are you saying I have agreed?
See, we all know that the soul does not take birth. Yeah. But we always say that somebody has taken birth. Somebody is being born. And we also know that as soon as the body is the soul is out of the body is no more there. And so we are clearly understand that this person has taken birth is an illusion. It doesn't exist. But because the soul is coming into this world, it's a pure spirit soul, having its spiritual body. It cannot operate here on this planet. The soul cannot operate in the material universe with its spiritual body. And so therefore, the soul requires a particular body to live in a particular environment and to act in that particular environment with that particular body, as long as he will exist for the duration of his existence in that particular place. But we know that this body is just a costume a costume for the body, for the soul to use in this particular drama. And as soon as the soul finishes his duty, his assignment in that particular costume, he will drop all the costume down and you see that it's a different person. But if it is in that costume, because he's been trained to act in a particular way, that same body in that costume will sometimes act like a madman. You know, because he's playing a drama, you act like a madman. It doesn't mean that he's mad, but that in that costume, he has to use that costume as an instrument to portray that particular future or that particular field of what he's supposed to act for people's understanding. And so a particular costume is given. Similarly, there is no white, red, yellow, green electrical power. Electrical power is power, but that power can be supplied and it can be used in different ways. So the same power can go through about 10 different colors. And so in your house, you can have red, yellow, white, blue, green, this, so many lights. Can we say that because we are seeing different light because there are different souls in this bulb that is giving them different colors? No, we all know it's the same one energy, but that energy is being costumed in a particular color of a reflection. And so it's refreshing that way. And so people with poor fund of knowledge will be identified as such. But those in knowledge, they know that it's not a light, different light that is operating, but there's something that is manifesting through different instruments and is giving that particular results. And so that's why I'm saying that you understand, Saturday Prabhu understand, they are only pretending, they only try to disturb you, that's all. But I also have a different question, Prabhuji, if I will be allowed to ask.
I think Anadi Nidanam, okay, Anadi Nidanam, stay on. Let Prabhu finish his question and then we'll come to you. You may be the last, Anadi Nidanam. Okay, go ahead, Shri Govinda.
In fact, this question is also based on Anadi Nidanam's first question concerning the desires. We understand that the living entities has unlimited desires. The living entity is a pure spirit soul. It's a question and also at the same time comment. The living entity is part and parcel of Krishna. And our real home is the spiritual world, the kingdom of God. And our relationship with Krishna over there is to serve him, his service. But because we are spirit soul, we have different desires so that we can serve Krishna in diverse ways. For instance, the living entity can desire to become a tree to serve Krishna, to become a grass, to become a stone, to become this, to become anything. So therefore the desire has to be there to serve the Lord. But when we come into the material connection, we come in contact with the material body, then we have a perfected desires. We have a perfected reflection to the original desires as why the desire was given to us by Krishna in the first place. We are diverted. And so sometimes we act in a mood of goodness, in a mood of passion, in a mood of ignorance, because we are diverted. But originally, we are to have this desire, expanded desire, unlimited desire, so we can serve Krishna unlimitedly in the spiritual world. And so as a result of that, the desire is given to living entity. Now, my question is that man proposed, God disposes. We may have a particular desire here in the material world. We want to act, we want to do something, and we are frustrated because Krishna did not sanction. Nothing happens without a sanction of Krishna. Now, when we are in the spiritual world and we try to do something, of course, there's always perfection in the spiritual world. There's no imperfection in the spiritual world. Does Krishna still have to sanction our desires? before it be fulfilled or come into manifestation? Does Krishna fulfills our desires or does not fulfill our desires in the spiritual world? This duality, does it exist in the spiritual world when it comes in terms of desire?
In the spiritual world, our desires are in perfect harmony with the purpose of the Lord. But in any circumstances, whether in the material world or in the spiritual world, our desires are always fulfilled. The condition in which they are fulfilled may not be clear to us, but every of our desires are being fulfilled by the Lord. When we have a desire that is in agreement with our present bodies, the Lord fulfills it immediately. If our desire is not in agreement with what we have acquired in this particular body, it will be put in a storehouse for us, and our next body will get opportunity to exhibit or achieve those desires. And that's why sometimes they say that we should be careful what we desire, because they will come to pass. They may not come to pass immediately if we do not have the punya. For example, if somebody wants to have a private jet, and in this particular material body that is acquired is not destined to be reached according to his previous karma, that will be in the storehouse for him. And then over and over, maybe it may take 10 years, 20 years, 100 years, but he will eventually achieve those desires. So it may sorry for that, call coming. So one may not get that desire fulfilled to one's manifestation immediately, but it will eventually be fulfilled. But directly to your question, both here in the material world and in the spiritual world, desires are always fulfilled. Our desires are always fulfilled. But because in the spiritual world, we have no desire separate from that of the Lord. It is not under the influence of dualities, like you use the word dualities. There is no dualities there, because every soul in the spiritual world desires to please Krishna. His desire is in harmony with the Supreme Personality of God. I don't know whether that answers the question.
Yeah, Prabhu, if I would take this your answer, then that would generate another question also. Because when we are in the spiritual world, you said that our desires are perfectly in line with the desires of Krishna. So my question was that, does Krishna sanction our desires for it to come to play? Or sometimes we may desire to serve Krishna in a particular way, but Krishna will not sanction, and so therefore it will not happen. That was the question. But this answer that you are giving me, then it also generates a question that, then how come that sometimes devotees has a desire to serve Krishna in a particular way, but that desire will not come to play, even though we are in line with Krishna. The whole idea was to serve Krishna, but that whatever we are desiring, the way we are desiring, how we want it to be, will not come to play. How do you explain that? Because the same desires like those in the spiritual world try to serve Krishna, and you say that it is in line with Krishna desires. But devotees try to serve, like for instance, we try to build a temple, we try to farm, we try to approach somebody for a donation, we try to serve Krishna in diverse ways, how we want to serve. But most of these attempts sometimes are unsuccessful, even though it's in line with Krishna. How do you explain the difference?
That's a very good question. I'll answer this in two ways. Let's look at it from this point of view. According to the statement of the SRIMAD BHAGAVATAM, Shukadeva Goswami said, Saivam Puncha Paroda, no Yati Bhakti Adushaja, Ahaituki Apratyata Yatma Suprasidati. Devotional service to the Supreme Personality of Godhead, there is no impediment or interruption in the path of bhakti. The bhakti is never interrupted or there's no limitations to achieving this spiritual goal. There is no impediment. But when we say there is no, is unmotivated, uninterrupted, let us look back at our individual self, because the question is that we, as an individual practicing devotional service, times we want to render some service. The first thing is that when we say we are desiring to do those services, most of the times, from a practical experience, we see that these intentions most of the time are not in line with fulfilling the desire of the Lord. We just want to do something because we feel it is good, we feel it is right. Actually, one of the challenges in devotional service is that, I think we have this discussion sometimes in one leaders meeting when we were discussing, and then the regional secretary then, I won't call him, he was saying that all of the temples must do arena, all of the temples must do food for life, all of the temples must build the temple. And I answered, but this is not what Srila Prabhupada taught, because we are all not having the same talent. It is as much as possible, every temple should try to do this, but you cannot impose a particular part of service to any temple. There are basic requirements for temples, that the deities must be worshipped, as much as possible preaching must be done, but you cannot impose a particular line of preaching move on every temple. That is, if these temples are very attracted to doing farming community, then every temple must do farm community. That is not what Prabhupada taught. The process of Krishna consciousness, if that was what he said, the Krishna himself will not say that Chateau Vidam Bhajanti Imam. No, Chateau Vania Maya Sistan. Guna Kama Vibhajasa. Therefore, this each an individual that is the whole process of Vanash down. Everybody has his own inclination. So sometimes when we come into devotional service, from practical experience, we have experienced this. When we come into devotional service, we see that the devotee is doing something. Okay, we also want to do it. And we say that this thing is not coming to reality, because that is not in our inclination. So we may not be able to achieve it. That is on personal level. But when we take it beyond that, if we genuinely want to offer something to Krishna, like I said before, and we do not have that capacity to do that kind of service, Krishna will fulfill our desire, but in a different dispensation. And I'll give you two practical examples. And I'm happy it's Grace and Sima Bharat who is on this platform, who is doing one great service, and I share this narration to him, past times with him. When I came into devotional service, there are two things that were very attracted to me. The first endeavor I took when I came into Krishna consciousness was that I wanted to carve a Jagannath deity, because I was so passionate about Jagannath. I wanted to carve a Jagannath deity for myself. And when Krishna Gurudev came, he said they should take. In fact, I didn't pay money to one of my godbrothers to carve the deities for me, and I was dissuaded from doing that. One will say that, but I want to worship the Lord. What is the impediment? I should be allowed to worship the deities. I should be allowed to carve deities for myself. But the spiritual master said no. Few months after that, I said I wanted to translate Bhagavad Gita into a local language. And Srila Gurudev told me, he said, these are not activities that are done based on your desire. Unless the Lord empowers, no one can do such activities. He directly told me to stop. And today I'm always very happy when I look at how that has manifested in the service of His Grace, Prabhu, because it's what I desire, I dream it, I wanted it to be, but I wasn't empowered to do such a service. So when we try to do devotional service or any endeavor in devotional service, we should understand that as we've been discussing, first the functioning of the law and whether we are empowered for such a service. So if the Lord wants us to do such a service, He will give us the empowerment, He will give us the capacity, He will give us the facility to do it. And if He does not want us to do such a service, He won't allow it to manifest. And if one is in a proper status of a backward, you will realize that this is not what the Lord wants. But if one becomes this, that actually that devotion, that activity is actually motivated with some separatist desire from that of Krishna's desire.
Okay, Hare Krishna. I think we will take another Nidanam and then we'll bring the class to a close. It's been about 2 hours.
Sorry, Prabhu. You did not find out whether I was okay or not.
Oh, okay. I'm sorry, Prabhuji.
Anyway, Salika Prabhu, thank you very much. I don't really want to take the platform, but this question, I can extend this question. But I will have to pause here and again question you next time.
Okay, thank you, Prabhuji. Anadi Nidanam, are you there to unmute?
Okay. I think more time has been spent, so I can leave my question so that next time.
Okay.
Yeah.
Oh, since Anadi Nidanam has no question, then I'll ask my next question. I still have three questions. But the first question is probably because today is Friday and I don't want you to go.
Today is not Friday.
Today is not Friday.
Today is not Friday. Today is Thursday.
I'm operating in different realm. Okay.
Because you are truck driver, you don't come home. You are just in the forest.
Okay. Okay.
Bring yourself into trouble.
I'm sorry.
Okay, wait for tomorrow. Tomorrow is Friday, so tomorrow you can continue.
Okay, let me ask my last question. So, Prabhu, I agree with you. I agree with you partially. But that also brings again the question to the living entity entering into the spiritual world. When you enter into the spiritual world, we originally have a relationship with Krishna, and so when we go back again to Krishna, we assume again our spiritual body, and so it's like a dreaming man. When one sleeps and dreaming, he'll be in a different realm. But as soon as he's awakened, he can see his environment, and when you are dreaming, you don't remember your desires, you don't remember your schedule. But as soon as you wake up, you remember everything. So living entities in this body in the material world, we are sleeping. That's why we call Jiv Jago. We are sleeping souls. But when you wake up, that is when you are back home with your spiritual body, then everything I think should be automatic. So now the question is, what is our relationship with the guru when we get back into the spiritual world? Because here he's directing us how to serve Krishna, and he'll continue to guide us, and he's our Lord birth after birth. So when we get back to the spiritual world, does Guru still train us how to serve Krishna? And at what point does the Guru leave us to do it on our own, if he is to train us even when we are in the spiritual world? And if not, then why do we then say that Guru is my Lord birth after birth?
The ultimate Guru is Krishna himself. The ultimate Guru is Krishna. Krishna is the supreme Guru. and is manifesting in the form of our spiritual master. That is why it is the Guru is one, because ultimately Guru means Krishna. And when we enter into the spiritual world, just like in the material world, the ultimate duty of his disciple is to serve the spiritual master. So when we enter into the kingdom of God, our ultimate duty is that we'll be serving the Supreme Personality of Godhead, who is the spiritual original Guru. Our spiritual master, who has manifested in different forms by the mercy of the Lord to us, also are there in the spiritual world, serving the Supreme Personality of Godhead. So we engage in their service for the purpose of service, just like the gopis. They're always expert in assisting each other for only one purpose, for pleasing the Supreme Personality of Godhead. So when we get into the spiritual world, we'll be assisting our spiritual master in serving the Supreme Personality of Godhead, who is the original spiritual master. There's no other thing. It is said that our training, when we become a devotee in this body, we get opportunity to join Krishna in any of his environment where he's in his pastimes, and we learn how to serve the Lord in those pastimes. So when we enter, after that, we can go into the kingdom of God, and we serve in
Okay. Shri Govinda, I do not want to repeat the same mistake right away. So are you okay?
Yeah, I mean, since time is not on our side, I think
Okay.
I would like to end here. But you know, we said the spiritual master is the same Krishna. So the spiritual master is the same as the Paramatma, and he comes in a flesh manifestation as a guru, so somebody that we can see and hear from. And are you saying when we get back to the spiritual world, the soul, does the soul have a super soul in him that is directing him to self, or the super soul at that time is out of the soul and then becomes Krishna, and that the soul can save him directly? And can we recognize this person, this Gopa, was my spiritual master when I was in the material world?
the material, the living entity in the material body is covered. The material body covers our original spiritual bodies. When we get into the spiritual world, we have our spiritual body. The soul is always in the body. In the material world, it's in the material body. The spiritual world is in the spiritual body. And he uses the spiritual body. There is a difference between the material body and the spiritual body. So in the spiritual world, he is inside the spiritual body serving the Supreme Personality of Godhead. Because that body is not in any case, in any circumstances, in any situation, attracted to material activity. So it serves the Supreme Personality of Godhead. That's much I know for you.
Thank you, Salika Prabhu. Thank you very, very much. Hare Krishna.
Hare Krishna. Thank you all devotees for being here. I think we'll bring the class to a close today. And we hope and pray that whatever the health situation is with His Holiness Maharaj, Shri Guru and Krishna intervene and help him get his health back as soon as possible to help us. So at this point, we're going to humbly ask the devotees to kindly unmute, and then we chant big Hare Krishna to express our appreciation to our volunteered speaker, Shri Salika Prabhu.
Before then, Sadi Prabhu, has anybody heard about Vasudeva Maharaj? The last time we met him, he was not feeling good. Has anybody heard of him? His condition, how is he doing?
I haven't personally spoken to him, but I believe he's doing well. I see him on the WhatsApp platform from time to time.
Okay. Good.
Yeah. Okay, so Prabhuji, let's go ahead and then we chant Jai. Hare Krishna.
Krishna, Hare Krishna,
Krishna,
Krishna, Krishna, Hare Hare,
Hare
Hare
Rama,
Ram, Hare
Rama
Ram,
Rama, Hare
Rama Rama, Hare Hare.
Santa Kalpatarubhya
Patarubhyascha, Kripa Sindhubhya Evacha, Patitanam Pavanebhyo, Vaishnavebhyo, Namo Namaha.
All
Vachapatarubhyascha, Kripa Sindhubhya Evacha. Jai.
All God's assembled devotees. We meet
Hare
again.
Krishna, Vachapatarubhyascha, Kripa